What up? My name is Edward, and thank you guys for paying attention to another edition of the Jack Files. This next one is about a story that I read on the CNN website about a little girl in Afghanistan. Now, the story I'm about to tell you is not a unique story. And what you need to understand is that the story, even though it's attached to one person, is the same story for about a few thousand kids. Her name's in Afghan is Afghan, it's Afghani, so excuse me if I get it wrong. Bafashis, Bafasha. She's 11 years old. She has a younger brother and sister, and a mother, and a father. Her father is a drug addict. And in their country, drugs are extremely cheap, and they're readily available. Every day she gets up and she walks to the richer parts of the capital of Afghanistan and begs for food and for money. And sometimes she's successful. But to help her supplement her income, her younger brother and sister also beg and sell gum for money. She begs for food in a time where a lot of children are being kidnapped. As they followed her around, the reporters saw images of a mother and father searching for their own children. And more than one case, they saw different parents looking for their children. When these children are taken, it's unlikely they'll ever be found, since there's no authority looking for them in the first place. Some people might be saying, what are we doing over there? Despite what we do in Afghanistan, hunting down the guys that started 9/11, this is how 9/11 started. A lot of people saw the movie Charlie Wilson's War, but you know what? There's a part in the movie that, if you read the book about Charlie Wilson, it's very important. We left that war during the Cold War. We left that country filled with weapons and nothing else. These people didn't know that we helped them defeat the Russians. All they knew is that somebody was giving them weapons, and they didn't care who. When we left the country filled with weapons and nothing else. Children grew up in poverty. The only thing they knew was guns and violence and religion. That created a cesspool where people like Osama bin Laden could come forward and create an army. We didn't create jobs. We didn't build cities. We brought war, just like the Russians did. And here we are, 20 years later, and we have an opportunity to change the fate of a country, and maybe the fate of our own. It's a country filled with weapons and young children who could be indoctrinated to hate us. Or they won't. But more often than not, they will. Because they're begging for food. They're begging for money. They have no education. We should stop sending soldiers and start building that country back up. As much as I hate to say, go out and help the world when we have people starving at home, let's fix a mistake that we made 20 years ago. 9/11 happened because we were too stupid to realize that we left behind a potential enemy. Now that we've destroyed the government that they knew, we need to create a new government and also create a future for the children. Because if we don't create a future for them, All that's going to be left is religion, violence, and weapons. And 20 years from now, we'll be exactly where we started. And as this girl is out there begging for food and risking getting kidnapped in the richest part of their capital, there's nothing else she can do. And on her way back home after begging a whole day for what little money she can get, for what little food she can get, she stops for an hour at school. She spends almost an entire day begging for food and money. And then she goes to school. The school center she goes to, when it was built, thought it had steady funding. It collapsed due to the economical mood swings the whole world's been suffering because of oil. Their funding got pulled away. So they have a building with teachers that are dedicating their time with providing what little food the center has, food that's also been donated. And when that hour of school is over, she gets to get up and go home and share what little food she got, if she got any. And then she goes to sleep. She dreams of a better tomorrow. The story is multiplied by a few thousand. And it breaks my heart. We can talk about freedom all we want, but this girl and the thousands more like her have no future. They have to risk dangers every day just for food and what little money. And they get to go to a school that maybe they get an hour to learn something for the future. Breaks your heart. But we need to create a future for these kids. We need to create a future, not just for them, but for all the children in these countries. Because if we don't, 20 years from now, we may have another war. Stop with troops. Send relief. Create a future for this girl and everyone else like her. I have the freedom of speech. It's a freedom that a lot of people died for. I have the freedom to go to school and to learn. No matter what I do, I can always learn something new and have an opportunity to create a new future for myself. This girl and thousands more like her don't have that option. Think about that next time you complain about your life. This is Edward here at the Jack File saying it's all about freedom of speech. If you don't use it, because she would use it, somebody just might take it away. Peace.